going to be trying to do your reading for you. It's a 7-card spread, horseshoe spread. There's 7 cards and a clarification card at the very end. Some of them don't really make sense, but I will try to read the best I can. You might be able to make sense of what I can't. If you do understand what I'm saying, or if you kind of get where I'm going with some cards, let me know. I like positive feedback. Let me know. If it doesn't make sense, this reading might be for somebody else. I tend to pick up energy from all sorts of places. I've been doing readings off and on, so yeah, if it doesn't make sense to you, it might make sense to somebody else, so just let me know. So if it doesn't make sense, I could try to pass this message along to somebody else. So the first card that I'm going to pull for you is the Death card. This card does look ominous and scary, but in reality, this card is the card of new beginnings, change, new life, transformation, death of which has outlived its purpose or usefulness. If I'm looking down, I'm reading my notes. What I do is get a general feel of what I get off the cards, and then I go through my tarot books and then make a Mod Podge of what my reading will be, and I take notes. That way I don't lose track of my thoughts going throughout the reading. So if I'm looking down, that's what that's all about. Endings leading to new beginnings. Oh, if you could look, I don't know if you could see that, but Death is actually wearing a white shroud on his head. This represents a birth. So this talks about birth. So I know that that's what your main concern was, that you were concerned about your family and having children. So it talks about that. If you see the rest of the card, there's a woman, children, there's a man, but there's also a guy that looks to be passed out or dead on the ground. Passed out or dead on the ground. I don't know if you've had children or if maybe you've had a baby pass, maybe a miscarriage or what have you, but it talks about that. If you've had issues conceiving. There's also time in this card. So a lot going on in this card. Natural ending, sadness, and relief. Saying goodbye to an old way of life. Marriage. Okay, so with marriage or saying goodbye to an old way of life, there's sadness and relief. Like with a marriage, you are saying goodbye to your single life and you're moving on to a life with your spouse. So with the Death card, that's what it talks about, is change and happiness and sadness at the same time. So I don't know if you, like I said, if you've had a miscarriage or if you've had trouble conceiving. I had that gut feeling before I started this reading, so that is kind of touching base on that. The next card will represent the present or your present issues. This card, okay, so reverse cards, when they're upside down, have multiple meanings. Multiple meanings meaning it could literally mean the opposite of what this card is actually saying. Like if it's night, it means day. Or it could also represent what you should be feeling or what you should be doing or what other people could be feeling or doing. That sort of thing. It could also indicate new people coming into your life. So reverse cards just mean multiple things, and I'll just try to explain as I go. This card talks about choices, decisions, often relating to working life, or sorry, I'm trying to read my notes. It talks about working hard to build a life. Working hard to build a life. So I don't know if you guys are married or if you are just dating. I don't know, but it's talking about building that life, that lifestyle together. Contemplation, choice between something real, something that's already been established. Choice between what hasn't been tried. There's lots of choices with this card. Choice between familiar and unknown. There's phases and changes, developments, risk. It also brings up your career. So usually with this card, if you can see, the pentacles are usually money. So I don't know if financially you guys are not stable enough to create this new way of life, or maybe that's something that you guys need to talk about. It talks about contemplation. So I don't know if you guys need to talk about finances before you dive into this, or if there's issues with insurance. But insurance and money. So there's lots of discussion happening. That's a good thing, I think. But hand in hand with these cards, if there's contemplation and discussion and you're saying goodbye to an old way of life, I have a feeling that if there's indecision in this card, that you guys need to be open and talking about those indecisions and all that sort of stuff. So the next card that I'm pulling for you will represent what is helping, what can help this situation. The Hierophant, I think I'm saying that right. He is usually a spiritual leader or somebody that you look up to for advice. That could be teacher, doctor, priest. It's somebody that you are openly seeking out to go get advice from. So if it's medical reasons, if you're talking about family and medical, you need to go look for somebody that has the knowledge that you need to get to the next step. If you are having issues conceiving, then you need to speak to a doctor and have those issues discussed, basically. Let me read my notes. It talks about searching for meaning, longing for spiritual enlightenment or medical enlightenment, unity of mind, body, and spirit. When I wrote that, I had a gut feeling that there isn't good flow of energy, either in your body or his body. Mind, body, and spirit has to be fully healthy before you could move on to any next phase in life, basically. You can't build a house without a good foundation, if that makes sense. That's a weird analogy to put towards having babies, but basically, your house has to be stable before you move in, basically. It talks about harmony between masculine and feminine, learning / gaining knowledge. Now, I don't know if you guys are opposites. I have a feeling that you and him are basically opposites. He likes one thing, you like another, but you guys make it work. You guys have a harmonious attitude between you guys, and it talks about that. Harmony between you two brings up heaven. So it's bringing up heaven again with this, like the death card. I don't know if one of you have lost an infant or have lost a child or lost somebody in your life that get these emotions coming. I don't, miscarriage or something like that. Or it could also represent you possibly having those issues in the future. But it talks about enlightenment, holy or medical. So talking about your mental issues, talking about emotionally, whatever is going on between you guys, you need to get everything out on the table before you proceed. Medical wise, get all your X's and O's and your T's and I's and everything crossed and dotted, and make sure everything is okay before you go ahead and get started on this path. It says talk about expanding your understanding. So yeah, get all the knowledge you can about what's your health, what's happening with your health, where are you going to be in 5 to 10, 15, 20 years. Get all that out in the open and start. I know it's weird to like say, okay, before we decide to have a baby, let's make sure this is possible financially. That's really weird. But I highly suggest doing that because once you have a baby, like your whole life freaking changes. It's not even after they turn 18. You're still going to be a parent after they turn 18. So you need to make sure that your life is fully secure before you bring another little human being into this world. Okay, so the next card that I pulled is the Page of Wands. The pages are messengers. And this card, to me, got really positive energy from it, but later in the reading, it didn't feel so positive. So, obstacles to overcome. So, new creative ideas, seeds of inspiration, imagination. So, with all those words, let me keep going. It talks about fire, heat, passion, promise of creative ideas, growth. Tiny yet brilliant spark of inspiration, support and nurture needs to be provided. Pages are connected with children. Page of Wands indicates a time when this is possible. Okay, so it talks about the heat, the passion, imagination. So if that is the obstacle that you need to overcome, you guys need to be excited in the bedroom. So if someone's not in the mood, you need to look for other ways to become in the mood, basically. Does that make sense? If you can't make it into a chore, or it's not going to be exciting, and your body isn't going to be accepting to this new life. You have to be mind, body, and spirit. That's part of the body. You got to be happy in your body to move on to this next step. So this talks about that. Fire, creativity. So get yourself down to the shop and get you some toys, get you some feathers or whatever, float your boat. But that's what this card talks about. You need that fire, that oomph, whatever, to get him or you going. It talks about, it indicates that this time is possible if you put the work into it. So the next card that I pulled for you will represent attitudes. The Knight of Pentacles, the key to success is found in perseverance and attention to detail, contemplation, closeness with natural world. Be prepared to take things slowly if necessary, or it may indicate indecisions. I talked about that in a few other cards, that somebody might not be ready for this step in life. And if that's the case, you guys both need to talk openly about what you want out of life. Not just today, because children are going to be around. If you make that little being, it's going to be around after 18 years. It's going to be a life. So if there's indecisions, you have to discuss, okay, what is going to happen between now and that little human being's life? Like, what's going to happen? Are we going to be still together? Are we going to be happy? Can we afford this? I mean, everything changes when you have a kid. Say goodbye to sleeping in. So that's what that talks about. No sense of urgency. There isn't a sense of urgency. Like, you guys aren't gonna, your baby maker isn't gonna fall out. So there isn't a sense of urgency. Progress is slow yet steady and purposeful. Consistent hard work. Rigorous attention to detail. Making ambitions come true. Only projects started are ones that are more likely to succeed. Reliable, and it talks about yes to pregnancy if that's what you want. if you want, so if you have issues conceiving, then you need to make it happen. Get tested. First things first is get your butt to the doctor and see if your baby maker is all healthy. If his baby maker device is healthy, that's a first step. And then if that's where you are financially, then if you're having issues, ovulation tests, fertility testing, if there is issues. So that's what this card talks about. Progress is slow, but if that's what you want, then you need to work at it. Okay, so the next card is what to do. 3 of Wands reversed. This card is contemplation of the first phase, accomplishment and satisfaction, turning into restlessness. Okay, so what I was talking about earlier is once you have a baby or once you have a kid, okay, what happens next? Are you prepared for you guys to kind of not be able to go out every single day and get bored around the house? That's what this talks about. It talks about restlessness, initial goal might not be enough now. Will want more. Further effort is required to reach new target, new challenges. So once you have one, you might want another. Or if you have one, it might not be what you expect or what he expected, and you guys are not going to be happy and you'll want something else. So those are things that you need to contemplate with this. But this card is the card of contemplation. The first step has been accomplished. So you just need to think of what happens next. What will happen next if this is what you're going for. This card will represent the outcome. I didn't get good feelings from this, and I usually don't. If you look at the card, it looks really messed up. Like, excuse me, there's swords piercing a friggin' heart. That doesn't look good, right? But if you look in the background, there's storm clouds, and it looks really scary in the background. I don't know if you can see that in the video. But there's light shining through behind the heart. So that is a symbol of hope, but there's some healing that needs to happen. There's also, if you could see, it looks like moths or butterflies around the frame. There's also doves. There's more doves in the clouds. I don't know if you could see the doves in the clouds. But these are all symbols of hope and the spirit rising, but the whole scene is really sad. So let me read what I wrote in my notes. Difficulties, heartache, welcome release of tension, healing, peace, calm, hope. It talks about the doves and butterflies, cocoons. So cocoons, when I read cocoon, it's like the baby in the womb kind of thing. Managing pain and moving on. So this card, with everything else that I've read, the other card seemed okay, positiveness. But this card seems like you're going to be moving on from something, that you are going to accept and move on. So I don't know if this is in the works for you two, or if maybe it's just on the back burner for now. I don't know. So this is the last and final card. This last card that I read, and then this one, sometimes I just can't make sense of what they mean. But I read them anyway, so if it means something to you, awesome, great. But the card that I pulled for you is the clarification card, and this is supposed to summarize everything that I read. I don't know. So this is an authority figure, loyal, committed, maybe your husband. I get that there's doctors and testing involved. someone might not be ready, but willing to do what it takes. So there's, I don't know if you can see this. Okay, so he is a masculine figure. He is strong and confident. He is basically the King of Swords. He's a badass, right? He's ready to take on the world for you. There's a feminine side. There's butterflies all around, and doves. Did you have a miscarriage? That keeps coming up. And then I'm looking at the cards and I'm going off my gut instincts, and there's 2 doves flying overhead. And usually the doves flying in the air, or it means that the spirit is rising. So maybe that there's going to be a loss involved. Or maybe there has been a loss. I don't know. Yeah, some of this reading just didn't make sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to you. If it does, let me know. I'll try to clarify more on it. But yeah, I think that's about it for right now. Let me know if it makes sense. I hope it helps. Have a good night.